Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a video all about the weapons that I do not regret raising. So whether you are free to play or you spend a little bit of money on the game, here are a list of weapons that I highly recommend you can build. Then again, it also depends on the characters that you have, so some of the things might not apply to you here, but I will try to make this list as diverse as possible. So without further ado, let's get started with some of the first weapons. So I can only really speak for the weapons that I do have, so any weapons that I don't have, I'm not going to elaborate that further on. So let's start off with the swords. I really like the blackcliff longsword. Now this one does come from using the stardust, which you will need to get from wishing. However, it is pretty good in return where you get crit damage, especially if you don't have this on the artifact. Highly recommend raising this one. I'm using it on Kazuha. You could use Elemental Mastery for Kazuha. However, I do like to have some crit damage because I'm focusing on EM with the artifacts. So instead, crit damage is on his weapon. This sword also works well on other characters where you want to crit as much as you can. I guess you could put this on Bennett, however it's not the best option for him considering he focuses on energy recharge, and crit damage is not really one of the things you need to prioritize. But it is a good one also for someone like Ayaka if you don't have her 5-star weapon. This one is super accessible. All you have to do is make a few pulls, and usually that's what you do in Genshin, so it will not be that hard to get this one. You don't have to go through a long story quest or anything like that to access this one. The next sword that I kind of do like is the Favonius sword. Now the base attack is pretty low, however you have energy recharge, which is sometimes hard to get on some artifacts. So I have this one on Bennett because I want to have a lot of energy recharge to build up his burst, and in that case I need an energy recharge sword, which I'm using the Favonius sword. Also crit hits can have particles for the energy, which he does crit a lot since his crit rate is above 50%, which in return gives you more energy recharge, so that helps a lot. Favonius sword is good for characters like Jean as well. Favonius sword is definitely one of them I would raise. Sacrificial sword is good too, but you will need to refine this a little bit more. I don't have all the refinements on it just yet because I did not have that many copies of it. I use this one on Xingqiu, and energy recharge is also good. The reason I like this one is if I have a character with a very high skill cooldown like Xingqiu where I have to wait a long time, I don't want to have to wait that long unless I have sacrificial sword where there is a chance I can cancel the cooldown for the elemental skill. So that's what I do. I would build this one up. This one is good because it takes the role of energy recharge. I don't have to worry as much about it for my artifacts, and I can focus on crit rate and damage. The next one is this one. Now I don't use this one as often as I was thinking I would. I don't exactly have a character for this one, but it is pretty good, especially because you don't really have to spend that much to actually get this one. You also get an attack boost, and that is good as well. It doesn't really replace the role of crit rate or crit damage or anything like that, so I wouldn't prioritize this one. But if you're really looking for a go-to sword option, I recommend the blackcliff one. Okay, next for catalyst, I'm going to mention dodoco tails. I just really like this weapon, probably because of the looks, and it looks really good on Klee. This one is definitely made for the charge attack characters, and it's also for the DPS ones. Now it does have attack percentage, so it doesn't really have the crits on it, but it is pretty good if you have the refinements. Now this one, it was a limited one, so if you do happen to have it, then I really recommend you raise it, but if you don't have this one, hopefully an equivalent will come around eventually. In that case, the widsith is another one you can do. I have a join request. Wrong timing, sorry. But the widsith is a really good option for you to pick because crit damage, and crit damage is extremely helpful. You also get these other boosts where you have attack boost, elemental damage boost, or elemental mastery, which are all really good and beneficial options. And the widsith is pretty accessible where you get it from wishing, and you can also get refinements pretty easily for it. This is my go-to free-to-play catalyst because it is one of the better ones for in terms of accessibility, and it also has the right stats. If you want to spend for the blackcliff one, you can also do that as well. I don't have it, so I can't really say that much about it, but the widsith does enough for me, and it really works on Mona. The next weapon I have to say that I really do like is the Favonius warbow. Maybe some people might have different opinions about it, and that is totally fine, but I use it on Fischl because she is my electro battery. So for Fischl, I build up a lot of crit rate on her so that she gets those good hits from Oz. I don't use her for her bow skill at all, so I don't use her normal attacks that much, but I did build them up because I did at some point use Fischl for a lot of physical damage fights because I use super conduct, but that's a whole different story. Now Favonius warbow is pretty good, and it's pretty accessible too, which I could refine it if I really wanted to. And remember that they always get better with refinements, so if you have copies of it, and you can enhance it. The base attack is pretty low compared to some other ones, like like sacrificial bow where they have the same substat, but I still liked having energy recharge. I like favonius warbow because I can use it on multiple characters, and also if I ever wanted to use their shots where I can use the charged attack, I could always still gain particles from that. Like if I needed to gain particles from afar, like a ruin guard, I would use Fischl and her charged attack to gain energy particles. Another one is the sacrificial bow, but I don't use this one as often. Again, it has the skill cooldown thing just like the sacrificial sword. Mainly I use it on Kagotsurube, but I don't use Kujo as often as I thought I would when I pulled for her. But overall, you can refine it to get better. However, I do not use it as often because a lot of the characters that are bow support characters, I only do one round of their skill, and I really haven't found the character I could potentially use it on. Diona is one of those good characters for that too, but I don't have a team comp for her at the moment. Okay, now on to polearms. The catch. Really like the catch. The catch is such an amazing free-to-play weapon, and if you don't have it, you need to get it. It's from fishing, and it does take quite a while to actually get it. I did not expect it to take this long, but when I finally got it, I raised it right away to 80 out of 90, and the reason why I just raised it to 80 is because I don't like to spend unless I have that XP boost where you can get from the event weapons, like these ones. But yes, I do have the catch refinement rank 5, and that increases elemental burst, damage, and crit rate. Always crit rate and crit damage are extremely helpful, so if you have that on your weapon, that helps a lot. Plus, it also has energy recharge, which are amazing for batteries like Raiden. This will forever stay on my Raiden. I know you could use it on Xiangling, but dragonspine will always remain on Xiangling too. So the catch is one I highly recommend you prioritize because you can also use this on many characters too. This works on Xiangling just as well if you don't have Raiden. So even if you're trying to build a really good Xiangling support build, this one is the go-to weapon for that. If you're looking to build a physical DPS, the dragonspine spear is one of those good ones. Now, it is kind of Rosaria's weapon, so I use this one on Rosaria because she's my physical DPS. You might know that from my previous build where I talked about building Rosaria as a physical/hybrid. This one is pretty good because I use lots of charge attacks on Rosaria and I like to cancel charge attacks, and I'm one of those people who do like charge attacks over normal attacks sometimes, and I like polearm characters too. Physical damage can be beneficial if you're running a superconduct team. Now this one isn't one I would say and hurry like the catch, but this one is a good option if you're trying to build a physical character. I forgot to mention a little earlier, the stringless is one of those really good bows. Sadly, I haven't built it yet because I have favonius warbow on Fischl instead of the stringless, but if you have someone like Venti where you're using burst damage the majority of the time, or even Kagotsurube, this is one to go for, but mainly Venti because of elemental mastery. This base attack is higher than the favonius warbow, so it is pretty good, and you can also refine it, and it's accessible as well. The stringless is one of those really good 4-star weapons that you can build, and it will benefit you if you have someone with that elemental burst damage, especially if you use mainly their burst for damage rather than their normal attacks or charged attacks. Now, a few honorable mentions. Then I have the Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers, which is an HP catalyst. It's mainly Barbara's catalyst, but you can also use it for Kokomi too. This one is super easy to access. You can get it in chests, you can get it from wishing, and you can refine it super easily too. It's mainly HP, so it's good for healers, and it also supports your other characters on the field because it gives you that attack increase when you switch to the next character. Then you also have Harbinger of Dawn, which you can also refine super easily, where it has crit rate plus crit damage. I know a lot of Ayaka mains start out with this one, especially if you're in a lower AR. Some of you are in the lower AR, so this one is a go-to option if you don't have as many 4-star weapons as I do. Of course, there's a lot more people with 4-star or even 5-star weapons. Again, these are all free-to-play options. Now, I'm not really a claymore user, but the Luxurious Sea Lord is a good one to go for. I do really like the looks of it, probably because it's a little silly and Beto is waving around a fish, but it has an increase in elemental burst damage, and it has that 200% attack increase. Again, this is refinement rank 5, and also it isn't accessible at the moment because it was from an event, but if you do have it and it's still at level 1, I recommend raising it only if you have a claymore character that can use it. If you don't have a claymore character that can use it at the moment, I don't exactly say you should rush raising it because the enhancement boost is now over and there really isn't that time to raise it. And lastly, for polearm, I have the white tassel, which is another good free-to-play option for the lower AR players. So the white tassel is one of those things you can find in the chests. I don't believe you can get this from pulling, so you will need to do a little bit of exploration. That's why I have a little less of these, but it is a pretty good one to start out with if you have a DPS because it has crit rate. I don't suggest using this long term because you can always switch it out for a better one, but it is good to start out with if you do need a little bit of help. So those are all the weapons that I do like and don't exactly regret raising. I know I missed out on a lot of them, but that's just because I don't have them or I don't really have a lot of use for them. If I do get more weapons in the future, I will make a video about them and suggest characters to use them with, but this video is mainly for the free-to-play players or the people who don't like to spend that much on the weapon banner, because trust me, the weapon banner is not your best shot if you're trying to get 5-star weapons. It can be a little bit tricky. But without further ado, good luck on your pulls, and I hope to see you in the next video. I hope this one was helpful, and I hope you all have a great day as well.